Good afternoon to you. It's 4:06 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up this hour, we'll speak to a D.C. area resident who was stuck in traffic yesterday in front of crazy climate protesters on the GW Parkway. She was the first up as they stopped traffic, and she was mad about it, and she let them have it, and we're going to talk to her about that today. Also, by the way, just some breaking news on that front. Apparently at the National Archives today, climate lunatics have dumped some sort of red substance, not all over themselves, as well as on top of the glass containing the United States Constitution today. We'll keep track of that story. A lot happening in our nation's capital right now. And then joining us at 5:30, Congressman Troy Nehls today, as Alejandro Mayorkas is impeached by the House. You can join us at 888-630-9625. 888-630-WMAL. Okay, a lot happening today, as I said, but here's a big one. The chairman of the House Intel Committee, Mike Turner, sends out a notification to all members of Congress today indicating that they need to come in and get briefed on some sort of urgent national security threat that they have to know about, simultaneously asking the White House to declassify information. Meanwhile, the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, insists it was his idea to begin notifying Congress about an urgent national security threat. He said the meeting's scheduled for tomorrow, Thursday. I don't know why Mike Turner's doing this today and telling everybody before we've even talked to him. That was his claim. And then finally, the biggest piece of this is Congress was supposed to be debating and perhaps even passing a renewal of warrantless surveillance of American citizens this week. The breaking news in the last half hour, Speaker Mike Johnson has canceled that vote. It will not be happening, at least this week. For more on all of this, I want to bring in the head of the House Freedom Caucus, the congressman who represents Virginia's 5th Congressional District. Bob Good joins us on the phone. Congressman, good to have you with us, sir.
Great to be with you again, Vince. Thanks for having me.
Am I wrong to be suspicious of the timing of a so-called urgent national security threat popping up in Congress right now?
No, I don't think you're wrong. While none of us want to diminish obviously the federal responsibility to protect our citizens from foreign attack and to secure our border and to keep our citizens safe and secure, including protecting their constitutional freedoms, rights, and liberties, of course, is a responsibility of the federal government. It did seem a little curious, the timing. So what happened was the Intel Committee chair just told us this morning, coincidentally, I guess, to the fact that FISA reform is being debated, said, hey, there's just an imminent national threat where all members can go to what's called the SCIF, where you can go and get classified confidential information. And we need every member to go there to receive that, and this has nothing to do with FISA. And so I have not been yet. I've had some colleagues go, and I'll just say the timing is interesting and leave it there.
Okay, sure. But here are some of the public things that are kind of suspicious. Jackie Heinrich over at Fox says that she has sources telling her that the material involves a Russian capability. Further, she says that the threat itself is grave. However, it is not immediate in nature. So if it's not immediate, that would mean it wouldn't be urgent. Of course, this is her source's interpretation. She also said that a Pentagon official tells her that this threat has something to do with space. But again, this comes at a really important time, Congressman. You've got the idea here, I know you're opposed to it. The federal government has been spying on Americans pretty relentlessly without ever obtaining a warrant to do that. That seems like a pretty gross violation of our civil liberties, and we shouldn't renew it, should we?
Indeed, we should not. And so there's the battle of the day. And just got word before I jumped on this call, I was in a meeting with leadership and Republican leaders, and we just got word that they're pulling the FISA bill for now.
Yes.
Pulling it because we've not come to an agreement. And what you have is a divide between those, quite frankly, who want to keep spying without a warrant, and those of us who do not. Those who want to keep the government's ability to buy data that would otherwise require a warrant, so buy it from private tech companies, government that couldn't get it without a warrant, buy it from tech companies that get it because of the business that they do. Those of us who do not want to allow that to be permitted. Those who want to expand the spying ability to cover local private Wi-Fi hotspots. So, you know, your Starbucks, your McDonald's, your hotel where you're working on your computer in a hotspot. There are those who want to be able to expand spying to cover those situations, and those of us who do not. And And then the other divide would be those who just want to add more ways to spy on U.S. citizens, Americans, and those of us who do not. And those of us who do not support the judiciary bill, which has jurisdiction over this issue, and it should have been the judiciary bill that was the main base text. You had a competing Intel committee bill with a judiciary committee bill. Unfortunately, the Intel committee bill is the primary base text with amendments allowed from the judiciary committee bill, 4 amendments. But you've got a battle now with the Intel committee folks and those who support their version, who want to keep spying on Americans without a warrant, quite frankly, and those of us who refuse to do that. And frankly, the Speaker needs to choose sides. He needs to choose the right sides. Let's have the vote. Let's put members on record. Let's have the amendments. And if members want to vote against requiring a warrant to spy on U.S. citizens, let them vote against that. Let the American people see who they are. Frankly, when this came out of Judiciary Committee initially, it was passed out of committee 30-something to 2. Turns out Democrats don't want to be spied on without a warrant by the federal government either. And then the Intel Committee began to try to blow it up and to prevent the judiciary bill from getting to the floor.
So would you reiterate, why do you believe Speaker Johnson just pulled this from consideration this week? What's the explanation for that? And does it have anything to do with perhaps that he has the same suspicions that I do, which is the Intel Committee is trying to hype a pretty standard threat to make it appear that robbing Americans of their civil liberties is an urgent need?
Well, I don't want to try to guess what Speaker Johnson is thinking, what his reasons would be, but I will tell you this, that the Intel Committee members were threatening to what's called kill the rule, take down the rule, prevent us from being able to have a vote on the House floor on the bill and the amendments if we didn't pull the amendments for things like that you have to have a warrant in order to spy on U.S. citizens, and that you can't keep buying data, again, that would otherwise require a warrant, or that you can't expand the spying capacity to private Wi-Fi hotspots at businesses, restaurants, hotels, things like that.
So they were threatening. They were threatening to destroy the legislative process because they wanted to keep spying on American citizens? That's
exactly right. And Speaker Johnson, what he verbalized to us was he did not want to see the bill fail on the floor, have what he termed an embarrassing vote on the floor where Republicans killed the bill. But frankly, what our position is, call their bluff. Do they have the, I'll say, courage to vote against protecting Americans' constitutional rights, the Fourth Amendment? And if they want to do that, then let's find out who they are and let the American people see they're willing to do that.
Okay, so at the beginning of the week, Politico had a report that really caught my attention today. I was reading it today, and I was like, man, what is this? So there was some consideration that the House would go into something called secret session for a part of this debate. This is a very rarely used thing in congressional history. Apparently, it's only been used 4 times. For 1979 for the Panama Canal Treaty, 1980 for Soviet-Cuban activity in Nicaragua, 1983, Nicaragua, and then in 2008 involving FISA Section 702. All that data comes to me by way of Cato, which pulled all of this together. Is that your understanding that the House would be pulled into something called a secret session over all of this?
And you see how great that worked out back in 2008 when it gave us the FISA that we're currently working under now, which has been used, some 278,000 times to illegally spy on U.S. citizens, quite frankly, and contrary to the protection that we are supposed to have under the Constitution. But yes, there was the threat, the intention, if you will, by the Intel Committee to have some of this debate, deliberation done in secret from the American people, which frankly should never happen, or essentially never happen. But we were going to attack that vehemently and publicly, and they have apparently backed away from that. We have not been told that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen, but we would certainly do everything we could to expose and prevent that from happening.
Congressman, once you receive this briefing on whatever the supposed threat is, how likely are, I know that you won't be able to share classified information, but if you detect that this is a scam, are you going to be saying that in public?
Well, I want to be careful, obviously, about what I say about it, but I will just say that I've not been to the briefing yet, and I've had no one who's been to the briefing come to me, and they can't tell me, they cannot even literally, so a member of Congress who's been to the briefing cannot come and tell someone like me who's not been yet, but is eligible, qualified, has clearance to go to the briefing. We can't talk about it outside the briefing, but I will just say no one has told me, hey, you got to get there to see the briefing. I've not gotten that reaction to those from those who've been.
So not a lot of urgency from the members of Congress who were told there's an urgent threat.
I have not been told that I urgently need to go and to hear about the briefing.
Fascinating. Okay, one of the, this is, it is a matter of convenience, of course, that we have you on this topic, and it's important. You're the head of the House Freedom Caucus, and you are fighting to get protections for American citizens into this debate, and God bless you for it. But we brought you on originally to talk about something that's been going on in Washington, D.C., and if you could address it real briefly, involving babies, aborted babies in Washington, D.C., and a desire apparently within the district to destroy these fetuses, these babies, and what's left of them. Can you tell us what's happening here?
Yeah, I'll try to give you the quick version. I can expand if we have time. But so essentially 2 years ago, a pro-life activist group obtained a box from a whistleblower that contained 115 aborted children from the Washington Surgi-Clinic in Washington, D.C., facility operated by the late term abortionist Dr. Cesare Santangelo. And of those 115 aborted children that were in this container, 5 of the babies appeared to have sustained injuries, suggesting that they were killed using illegal partial birth abortion methods, or they were born alive and then left abandoned to die. And it's against the law, of course, in this country under Title 18, Section 1531 of the U.S. Code to perform partial birth abortion. So thousands of pro-life activists called on the D.C. Metropolitan Police to investigate the slaughter of these innocent babies and investigate the abortionist, Dr. Santangelo. And the D.C. Metro Police dismissed this as, hey, this was legally aborted medical waste, refused to perform an autopsy, investigate the murder, or seek any kind of justice for these children. And then the DOJ directed the D.C. medical examiner to destroy the remains of the bodies of these, what are called now the DC-5, the 5 babies that are believed, based on the evidence, based on the appearance, based on the late-stage development of these children, these preborn children, that they were, again, either victims of partial birth abortion, or they survived an abortion attempt and were just left to die. And so the Washington Post, it cited 2 anonymous sources in 2022 reported that D.C. medical examiner had no intention to conduct an autopsy. And so my colleagues, Chip Roy and Andy Biggs from Texas and Arizona, respectively, sent a letter calling on the D.C. mayor to pause on the disposal of the remains of these children's bodies to preserve the evidence, and calling for an investigation, calling for an autopsy, calling for justice to be served if indeed these children were killed illegally, these preborn children. So we held a press conference to that effect today. So again, they were told to destroy the remains by the DOJ. Now they put a pause on that temporarily. And so what we're calling on is again, for an investigation to get to the truth of what happened with these 5 preborn children. So
the Justice Department under Joe Biden is pressuring Washington, D.C. to destroy credible evidence of a crime?
That's correct.
That's par for the course.
Correct.
It's entirely consistent.
That's correct.
All right.
Again, kudos to Chip Roy and Andy Biggs for bringing this to light. We had a press conference to that effect today, joined by many pro-life groups and advocates, and we're going to continue to try to bring attention to this issue and try to get justice for these 5.
Well, you're on the right side of a bunch of important issues. Congressman Bob Good, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate that. I'm getting some notifications from listeners right now who think that there may be something else afoot, not just the FISA renewal, to spy on Americans without warrants, but also, of course, the funding for Ukraine, some $60 billion plus sent to Ukraine. And the idea is like, well, let's keep hyping the Russian threat. Oh, Russia's going to attack us from space. Oh my God, I can't even believe that's what they're going with. But that's apparently what's happening behind the scenes, according to some of the reporting we've seen today. An urgent threat. All of Congress needs to know about it. Russia's going to attack us from space. And that may be true. That may be true that this is designed to, in part, juice the money to be sent to Ukraine. Don't ask any questions. We need to fight We need to fight back against Russia. Send tens of billions more, unaccountable, to Ukraine. That may be part of it. But look, the House Intel Committee in particular has really been pushing for a continuation of spying on American citizens without their consent, without going through any process, no warrant, anything like that. No, let's keep doing that. Let's keep just trampling all over their rights and their civil liberties. Let's just keep doing that. And stop paying attention to this. In fact, our national security threats are so intense right now, we just have to extend it. You'll understand. It's for your own safety. No, I'm not for it. On a different issue, Biden has been insisting that his brain operates as intended. And he says that Robert Hur was so mean when he asked about Beau Biden's death. How dare he ask about that? This is what he said last week.
I know there's some attention paid to some language in the report about my recollection of events. There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business.
Now, here's the update on that story. You ready for it? I mean, it's not going to come as any surprise to you. NBC reports that Hur never actually asked him a question about that. In fact, they say Hur never asked that question, according to two people familiar with Hur's 5-hour interview with the president over 2 days last October. It was the president, not Hur or his team, who first introduced Beau Biden's death, they said. So Biden, once again, par for the course, lying to the American people. I thought to myself when he asked it, how dare you? It's none of your damn business. You must have been talking to yourself because you're the guy who brought it up and then didn't remember the dates of when Beau Biden died. You're the one who brought it up. The White House fighting right now, continuing to fight the release of the transcript of the Biden-Hur interview. What's the thing they say about Trump? If he's got nothing to hide, then why doesn't he just release everything? Show us your tax returns. How about this? If you've got nothing to hide, release the transcript. Show us your conversation with Robert Hur. Everything's fine, right? No. Coming up, a woman who was stopped yesterday alongside many thousands others on the GW Parkway by climate lunatics. She was the first one up. They jumped out in front of her car. She let them have it, and she's here to tell us about it moments from now. Hey, good afternoon to you. It is 4:35 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up on the show, Troy Nehls, the congressman, will be with us at 5:30. We're going to talk about last night's impeachment vote for Alejandro Mayorkas, first cabinet member to be impeached in over a century. And boy, did he work really hard to deserve that one. Finally, a second attempt. It goes through. Congressman Nehls will talk to us about that coming up in the next hour. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Climate protesters are causing chaos again. This time today, two climate activists, the Daily Caller reports, were just arrested at the National Archives after throwing pink powder onto the case that holds the United States Constitution. The good part of this story, presumably, is that the Constitution is protected. I think that's bulletproof glass. They really have a fortified setup there to protect the Constitution. And I will say it's my favorite spot in D.C. to visit. I love the archives. It's a long line to get in usually, but it's worth it if you can see the thing. They go out of their way to protect. They keep the lights really dim in there. They keep flash photography away. They do everything they can to preserve the quality of those documents. And here you have lunatics just trying to destroy it today. Just out of control. This is what the left has wrought to your country. Now, yesterday, if you were on the George Washington Parkway, the GW Parkway, you may have been stopped by climate lunatics. In fact, yesterday, for about half an hour, traffic was brought to a grinding halt because the climate lunatics got in between a construction zone where traffic was narrowed down to a single lane, and they sat right in between the Jersey barriers, so there was no U-turning out of it. You couldn't jump the median. You couldn't go around them. It was just three goofy people holding signs, ruining the lives of thousands of commuters trying to get through the area. And the first woman who shows up in that line as they jump out in front of her is a woman called Adria. Now, Adria, we tracked her down, thank God, and we talked to her. Now, I want you to hear some of the audio of her encountering them in the first place. Listen to this. This is her yelling at the protesters from inside of her car. She has places to be, and they're in her way.
Nobody cares. Move, nobody cares. No, you're not fighting for nobody's life but your own with your white ass. That's all you give a about. That's all you give a about. That's what you out here fighting for, not for everybody. You're not even fighting for nobody but your damn self. That's so selfish.
She's right. They're being a bunch of narcissists just out in the middle of the road, doing nothing, achieving nothing, making everybody miserable.
The world is warming up way too quickly, but you're sitting your ass in the cold, holding up traffic.
jeopardizing food supply, making a lot of refugees. He didn't do a lot more.
Some guy's like talking. He's like, well, there's climate refugees. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Hey, y'all real live allowed to do this. If I didn't care about going to jail, I would run them over.
If I didn't care about going to jail, I'd run them over. All right, so again, we tracked down Adria, and we spoke with her. I had a conversation with her earlier today. Here's what it sounded like. Tell me what happened yesterday. Where were you headed, and what did you run into?
So I was headed to handle something at a nearby hospital with my son, and that's another thing. I was kind of upset that it was even recorded and that it even hit the internet or whatever, but that don't even matter. Like, everybody had places to go. Like, somebody had somewhere to go, somewhere to be, and I don't know. I thought it was some what most people couldn't see. I was going like down GW Parkway, and people couldn't see this to the right of me on my passenger side. I was in a construction zone, so I was approaching some construction workers on the right, and when I saw some people step out, I was like, of course, the construction people go step out in front of me. I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, and then as I got closer, I'm like, what are they doing? And I'm like, that guy's fine. And I'm like, excuse me, I had a sailor mouth, but I'm like, what these are like, no, they're not about to do this right here, right now, not today. Like, in front of my car, like, why is this happening? And I just got out my car, and I'm like, no, y'all have to move. Like, y'all cannot sit in the street and do this. Like, what are y'all doing this for?
So your son is actually in the hospital right now. I did see in one of the videos. Go ahead.
No, that's where I was going, yes, but no, not now. So I want to thank everybody for, like, asking about it and stuff, because a lot of people was reaching out. Like, everybody's laughing at the video, but it's other people that still like, but is you okay? Like, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, everything's fine, man.
Okay.
But that's still just, like, something I had to go do, and I got held up from doing that. Like, if I was the second car, or I was the third car, or the eighth, I would have been sitting there. I don't even know how long they were sitting there, because everybody was asking me, and I told them I was only there for the duration of the video. I was there for about 5 minutes, and the videos are like 4-minute videos or whatever. I wasn't there. I might have been there for, like, time goes so fast. It might have been like 10 minutes.
Yes,
but
I saw at one point.
I wasn't there longer than that.
I saw at one point they let you go, and they held everybody else up.
Yeah, because there was a man behind me that was, so the man, what a lot of people didn't see or couldn't hear, the man in a car behind me, it wasn't the guy that was in the video that's not the signs. It was another driver that was in a white vehicle. You could see him talking a couple of times. He was advocating with the people because I was going off. I'm just like, I'm about to rally up. If I would have sat there for another few more minutes, like, people had questions like, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? If I would have sat there, like, probably 5 minutes later, I probably would have just started rallying people up. Like, we can march over them. Like,
yes.
I couldn't have sat there any longer. Like, so, and I think he could tell that because of how angry I was. He was pleading with them, like, please, like, y'all can literally get behind her car and block my car, sit in front of my car, but let her go.
Yeah, that video made it clear. I looked at it. I was watching that video, and I thought, they're intimidated by her. You were so hot yesterday about this that they just were like, they gave up. They were like, okay, she can go. Everybody else we're going to hold up. But you put some fight into it.
Saying it. Yeah, and that's like mild. Like, honestly, I felt like when I left this situation, I felt like I could have handled it differently. Like, people saying whatever they have to say about it, I really don't care.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I don't care. But because this is my life, I got to walk away from this at the end of the day. Everybody saying what they would have, should have done, and I should have ran over them. No, I should not have, because one, I wouldn't have got to my destination. I would be in jail, and I would lose my dogs. I have things to lose. Yes. Other than being on camera, running somebody over, or assaulting somebody that didn't do anything to me.
No, you did the right thing. You did the right thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just like, but I couldn't, but I was still with so much rage. Like, it was in the end, because there were barriers next to us. If it was a regular parkway and it was just the orange line and they weren't doing that construction, I would have just made the U-turn and been over the line. I would have took the ticket. I don't care. I'm going a different way. But there was literally nowhere for me to go.
They figured out a way to get you stuck, and they did that yesterday. So, I mean, so they obviously, these are protesters, right? So they're supposed to be advancing some sort of message. Are you inclined to take their side now, given that they made your life miserable yesterday?
No, like that's not even how you get your message across. If you want somebody to listen to you, you got to do it effectively. Like, you're doing it somewhere where you're causing people to care less about what you're even talking about. Like, and then, but the thing is, another part of the video, I can't remember like what was posted, how long that video is, because I had my own personal angles of the video.
Yeah.
So I know in one point of it, I was asking the guy, like, what is your cause? Tell me exactly what you want somebody to listen to you. Tell me why you're standing right here. What are you out here for? And he just kept like showing me the sign. I'm like, I can read the sign. Give me your speech. Tell me what do you have to say? Tell me your cause. Tell me. Start talking. Like, make it make sense. Like, you got to tell me why you're sitting in front of my car right here, right now.
Right.
Like, start talking. Don't just hold up a sign. You should have a megaphone and you should be talking. I want to hear it. What is it? What is it about? What are you doing this for? Because you're blocking traffic.
Well,
right
if
now.
I can, you're totally right. And one thing that I noticed about this is not the first one we've seen. We've seen a bunch of these in our area and certainly all over the world. These climate protesters, they get out in front of traffic and they block people and they make the lives of normal people miserable. And I always wonder, why are they doing that? Because I thought the idea behind this, to the extent that there is one, is that, humans are burning too much gas. Well, then why would you have a bunch of people?
A lot of people in one spot. One place.
Yeah. Why would you have a bunch of people just idling their cars, burning gas in the middle of the road?
Yeah, that's what I would like to ask them to. Like, and I don't know. That's the question I asked them to. I'm just like, what was the point of that? That's why I said, but you're sitting here in the code. Like, what is the point? I'm confused. You're sitting in the code and all of these cars are back here.
Yeah.
That's what I asked. I was like, so what's the point of that?
Yeah,
and so their message across.
And so, what do you think that does? What do you think, Adria, that does for all the people who were out there waiting yesterday? And there's lots of people with all sorts of reasons. Either they got to be at the hospital, they got to be at work, they got to pay their bills.
Right.
What impact does it do?
People are furious. Like, that could have been. I just think like people have, and that's what I think is so selfish. I can't even really answer. I think it's so selfish of them to say that they're fighting for a cause. But you have all of these people in their cars with every different reason. Somebody could be losing their job because they on their last strike and they're held up right now in this traffic because you're trying to get a message across. Like, you're affecting more people than you're helping. Like, I don't understand it. Like, that was I said I experienced everything once. Like, my life is so crazy. And it's just like, it would be me of all people that this happened to. Like, and I'm just like, and it was such an experience. Like, it was just like, this is really happening right now. Like, you see it on TV and you see them blocking and the truckers and stuff like that. And you're like, I would be mad. I think it was a dude a few weeks ago, like last month, he was cursing someone out in another state because of the same thing, protesters. But it's just like, that is so, people really have places to go, and not even that, you're stopping other people's lives, and you're making a bigger problem. So that whole area is now, the climate has been affected, because how long were they even sitting there? I still don't even know how long they were sitting there. I don't even know.
It was about half an hour yesterday. The cops and some of the construction guys finally carried everybody out of the way.
I saw that, and I saw that they got locked up and stuff, but how long were they out there?
About half an hour.
A half an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot of time for people.
Too many minutes too long.
So I do think, as I said before, I do think they picked the wrong car to step out in front of. Like, they could have picked any car. They picked yours for some reason. And I see you in the video step out and right away just start lighting into them. Like, what are you doing? And I think there's a message in there. I gotta be honest. Like, what would you recommend to somebody if they end up in your position, like where they're right in front and they all of a sudden they're getting their life upended by these people blocking them in traffic?
Oh my God, that's a hard question.
Just let them have it.
Oh, okay. This is what I would say. I would say some of these people aren't hard to be reasoned with. You have some people that everybody's just different. I don't know. You may come across some very strong protesters. They might be like me. Like, I'm not going nowhere. I'm not moving. whatever. So I don't know, but I know that later when how I said I could have handled it differently, I felt like when I sat and thought about it, I was like, I could have advocated for myself other than lashing out like that. Like, because I'm just trying to control myself too and be in a situation where I have full control of myself.
Yeah.
So when I thought about it later, I was just like, I could have been that person instead of the guy behind me advocating. I could have went and said something to them. Like, I didn't have to go there, but I'm also still not that same type of person. I'm a work in progress. So everything is 1 to 1,000. It's just raised. Like, so, like, I don't know. But I did reflect on it. Like, you could have talked. Because my grandma gonna see that, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry, grandma. She always told me to watch my mouth. I ain't even show her yet.
Well, I don't know. I hope if I hope your grandma, when she sees this, if she sees this, is she's proud of you, because I know. Yeah, you're right. You did use some rough language, but beyond that, I think a lot of people saw that video. I know I did, and I thought that woman's a hero. Just getting in their face and just saying how ridiculous this whole thing is right away. Because I think the longer people just sit around and pretend it's legitimate, the more this kind of thing is going to happen.
Yeah, y'all gotta find that guy. Everybody was calling him the uncle. The guy who was ripping the signs down. They
Yeah.
Everybody, he was there, bro. He was the one doing it. He was the aggressor.
Yeah,
he
so
was
good.
getting them out the way.
It was so good. Anyway, Adria, I really appreciate you talking to me today. I'm really thankful for that, and thank you very much for standing up for what's right yesterday, even though you didn't expect it. It just jumped out in front of your car. Thank you very much. All right, let's go to the phones. I've got David calling in from Fairfax, line 7. David, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince, thanks. We've had a couple of small snowstorms here in Virginia, Fairfax, and I always carry a chainsaw because there's always a tree down one side of the road. And I stop, and I cut the tree up, and people get out of their cars and help me to haul the logs off the road, and traffic resumes.
Right.
Why don't people start getting out of their cars and just drag these people off and get on with your life? Why do we sit there and wait for VDOT or the police to stand there with their hands on their hips? Just get out of your cars and remove them.
Yeah, a little citizen's arrest or something, just like, tie them up, leave them there, and let the cops take care of them later.
Yeah, you don't have to even do that. Just drag them off. You see the videos. They've done it in Sweden and stuff where these guys get out of their car and they actually just drag them off the road and they just lay there like sissies.
Yeah.
Just do that.
No, you're right. You're right about that. And that's not hurting anybody. You just grab them by the shoulders and drag them out of the way. And and it's funny because yesterday, you see the video of some of this on the GW Parkway yesterday. The park police responsible, the U.S. Park Police responsible for that stretch of road, they come up and they start the whole thing by just talking. They're like, hey, so you guys have a permit to be out here? What do you mean? You think they have a permit to be on the highway? Like, come on. The whole thing's crazy. So and then eventually, the rest of the cops show up and they start arresting everybody ever so slowly. It took construction guys to help pick the guys up and move them.
Yeah, just grab them by the collar and throw them on the shoulder and get on with your life.
Yeah, and also if you look at these guys, they're all built like sticks too. It's not like a lot of weight to pick up. I guarantee you lifting up chunks of tree is more of an effort than picking these guys up.
Yeah, and get on with your life. Come on.
Yeah, thank you, David. A smart point. Very smart point. Let's see. Patricia calling in from Boyce now on line 5. Patricia, you're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. Thank you for my call and your screens. Anyway, what has not been addressed is emergency vehicles. And you've got somebody in they're having a heart attack. They can't get to the hospital. And I think these people that are blocking the roads should be held accountable and for manslaughter, because that is what should be done.
I know. There should be consequences imposed. Do you remember when the truckers came to D.C., that guys literally not to do anything but drive around in the area? They were being blocked from getting off on exits into the city. In fact, the federal officials, local officials were mounting a real effort to stop people from fighting for liberty. Yet the second you come out and you say you think you can control the weather, you get away with maybe literally murder. You're stopping people from getting to their emergency destinations. It's so crazy, and it's the world we live in. They're attacking the actual Constitution today. The left dumping some sort of powder or something all over the United States Constitution at the National Archives today. Holy cow. All right, more of your calls coming up. A lot of breaking news today. I've got an update for you on that shooting in Kansas City outside of that Chiefs Super Bowl celebration event. And Congressman Troy Nehls is joining us in the next hour as well. Hold tight.